Hello vinyl community, this is Randy. Back today with another video. 3 or 4 days ago on Friday I was in a live stream. We were discussing various topics and Love Supreme came up, the topic of John Coltrane's Love Supreme, and I mentioned that that is not my favorite John Coltrane album, and I didn't even think it would make my top 50 albums of favorite jazz albums. So later on I started thinking about that a little bit. I thought, wow, that's, maybe a little bit severe. Probably, surely Love Supreme would be in my top 50 as far as jazz albums go. So I decided to just do a sort of a ranking of my top favorite jazz albums. I'm not going to try to do 50 though, because that's too many. So I'm doing 21, 21 for 21. So my 21 favorite jazz albums for as we go into the year 2021. So this, I guess is where they would be right now. It's always subject to change. So there were a couple things here. I didn't really include too many newer, in fact almost no new artists that are still recording now. That's, well, for one thing, not many of them have records out on vinyl. There's not that much vinyl to find, and some of the others, well, maybe they haven't, quite stood the test of time yet or something like that. So there's not going to be many new artists in here. And really, I think the only other couple rules where I didn't want to have my top 21 filled up with Coltrane and Davis selections, so I limited myself to 2 from each one of those. And then also I was, the way I went about, choosing these was to look at my Discogs collection, and when you type in jazz for the genre in there, a lot of stuff comes up. So a lot of easy listening stuff comes up. I'm not including easy listening here, even though easy listening is one of my favorite types of music. I listen to some almost every day. I'm also not including things like Exotica or soundtracks. But those are just about the only rules. Well, I thought about vocals too, and I did decide to include vocals. But I left Frank Sinatra out because I figure, maybe he's a jazz singer, but I don't know if he's primarily a jazz singer. So anyway, let's get started. For number 21, I jumped right in with Miles Davis. So I'm only going to have one other Miles Davis in my top 21 here. This is Nefertiti. This record was recorded in 1968. All these records, I'm not going to pull the records out for the most part either. These all have, the basic standard labels. None of these are going to be original issues. These are all reissues. I believe this is from about 2008. This was a Columbia Legacy recording. So this is with his classic second quintet with Wayne Shorter on sax, Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, and Tony Williams on drums. So I guess this is considered to be modal type jazz, and I really like this one a lot. I've listened to it a heck of a lot over the years, and it's just very repetitive. A lot of it is just almost like they keep repeating the same phrase with just very slight variations in time or maybe the notes that they're playing. But yeah, this is a fantastic album. So well, they're all going to be fantastic. So the one newer record that I included is this one called Blue Note All Stars, Our Point of View. This is what we're hearing right now in the background. So the Blue Note All Stars are people that are still recording now for Blue Note, and they got together and made this record. The reason I like this one, this is 2-record set, the reason I like this one a lot is it has some new songs that they wrote for this, but they also do some standards on here, such as Witch Hunt, Wayne Shorter's Witch Hunt from the See No Evil album. They also do Wayne Shorter's Mascalero on here, and on that one, Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock sit in. So it sort of marries the old with the new for Blue Note on here. And the newer compositions sound new. it's mostly traditional instrumentation, even though there is a little bit of electric piano. But other than that, it's stand-up bass and drums. Ambrose Akinmusire is probably maybe the best known instrumentalist on here. Maybe Robert Glasper, the piano player. So here's what it looks like. This is a 2-record set. So Blue Note All-Stars. At number 19, got Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday at Storyville. So I really wanted to include some Billie, and I thought about Lady in Satin, but I don't have Lady in Satin on vinyl. I only have the CD issue of that. This is a great album too. This is a live album that was recorded in 1951 and 1953 in Boston at a club called Storyville. And the reason I like this one so much is just because of the intimate setting. These are radio broadcasts, and you can hear the announcer introducing her. Yeah, you can hear the crowd, and she just sounds so casual. She just sounds so friendly, and like she's just having a good time with the audience, and she really enjoys them. She does a great version on here of "Then Their Eyes," and she has just sort of a little, almost like a little giggle in there, and it's really quite excellent. 51 to 53. I think this is probably when she was at the height of her. But, well, maybe in the 40s would have been the real high. But this is before her voice started, deteriorating a little bit. Which I still like that too. Lady in Satin, probably would have been my favorite if I'd had that on vinyl. Number 18 is Johnny Griffin, Volume 2. This one is very straightforward. It's Volume 2, but then on the back of it, it's called a blowing session. And that's what this is. It's a saxophone blowing session. This is Johnny Griffin, Hank Mobley, and John Coltrane, all on tenor sax. There's only 4 songs on here, and each one of them solos in each song, so yeah, it really is a blowing session. And the really cool part about this, too, I think, is that they do 2 standards, The Way You Look Tonight and All the Things You Are, and then Johnny Griffin wrote 2, basically just blues-type songs so they could have a blowing session, I guess, Ball Bearing and Smokestack. So, we also have Lee Morgan on trumpet here, and Wayne Kelly, Paul Chambers, Art Blakey on drums. So great lineup. So yeah, this fantastic record. This one came out in 1957. All right, Sam Rivers, Contours. Sam Rivers is a tenor sax player, also plays flute and soprano sax. On this record, he's playing with Freddie Hubbard, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, and Joe Chambers. So this is it's kind of like the Miles Davis rhythm section with Herbie and Ron, and then he has 2 of the newer, I guess, sort of progressive jazz players with Joe Chambers and Freddie Hubbard on here. So so this is a little bit more progressive jazz, a little bit freer, but it's still down to earth, I guess you could say. I have another album of his called Contrasts on ECM, which is a little bit more like free jazz, but I really like his flute playing on here. So yeah, Contours, Sam Rivers. Number 16 is Mulligan Meets Webster. Jerry Mulligan meets Ben Webster. So Jerry Mulligan, a baritone sax player, and Ben Webster, a tenor sax player. So this was recorded in 1960. And they have a really good rhythm section on this one. Jimmy Rolls plays piano, so he is a person that I just recently got another record by him with Al Cohn, and he's known as a fantastic accompanist on piano, so I would agree with that. And also Mel Lewis plays drums. So 3 of these songs are written by Jerry Mulligan. 2 of them are standards, and one's written by Jerry Mulligan and Ben Webster. So I like this one a lot just because it's just traditional jazz. They're both playing beautifully. It's very enjoyable record. Nothing too stressful. Really quite pleasant to listen to. Lou Donaldson, Lush Life. This is a record with sort of a strange history. I think it was recorded originally in 1967, but wasn't released until 1980 in Japan. Then it was released in the United States on a label called Sweet Slumber. But then finally in 1984, I think, Blue Note did get around to releasing it, and now I've got a re-release. So, yeah, Lush Life by Lou Donaldson, who is an alto sax player. He has pretty much a big band on this one, though. There's also Jerry Dodgen playing alto sax and flute, Wayne Shorter on tenor sax, Pepper Adams on baritone sax, Freddie Hepburn on trumpet, Garnett Brown on trombone, McCoy Tyner, Ron Carter, and Al Harewood. So, yeah, Lush Life is, these are very, just kind of like relaxing type songs with a big band sound, a lot of instrumentation, very relaxing. The Good Life, Stardust, wonderful version of Sweet and Lovely on here. So Sweet and Lovely is just a wonderful song that's been remade by so many different jazz artists, and we're going to come across that a couple more times here in my top 21, I think. J.J. Johnson and Kay Wendy, Trombone for Two. This was, I believe, their first full-length album as a pair. This was on Columbia. This was recorded in 1955, and it's just an excellent album. Once again, they're doing basically just some jazz standards. Give Me the Simple Life, Let's Get Away from It All, Just Can't Be Loved. There's also a couple of originals on here, I think. So yeah, this was a very popular. They were a very popular band, I guess, in the 1950s, and this record was actually given to me as VCLT from Happy Hippie the Vinyl Guy. So thanks a lot for that, Rod. And yeah, fantastic album. There's lots of, well, not lots, but several J.J. Johnson and Kay Wendy albums that, you know, maybe could have been in my top 21. Mostly I'm not showing these records. I'm mostly just showing that one because I can't get it to fit back in here. It's sort of a little bit of a seam split there, but it's fine when I have it in plastic. So. Curtis Fuller's Quintet. This is Bluesette. This album was recorded in 1959. So Curtis Fuller is a trombone player. This also features heavily Benny Golson on tenor sax. So those two were, I think, involved in a jazz tet, and they'd worked together quite a bit. This one is actually under Curtis's name. I like the way they work together on this. They both play together through quite a bit of it, so it's not so much improvisation, it's really just playing the melodies of the songs. There are some excellent improvisations too, though, on top of it all. And I tell you, Curtis Fuller plays muted trombone on some of this, and almost sounds like a trumpet. It's kind of hard to know for sure, but it is a trombone. And yeah, this is an excellent album, Bluesette. Curtis Fuller and Benny Golson. They both went on to be in the Jazz Messengers, I think, for 2 or 3 years there in the early part of the 60s, or maybe Benny Golson was part of Jazz Messengers before that, but Curtis Fuller in the early 60s, and I think they're both still playing today. I was on, I'm not going to show you all these labels, but I figured I would show you the Savoy label, because it's a little bit unusual. Don't see too many of those. That is a reissue. Here's one actual original that I have. This is Sarah Vaughan, After Hours. This is one I just got recently. You know, how did it work its way into my top 21 so fast? Well, it's just such an awesome album. It's really incredible. And I waited for about a year to get it after I first saw Black Beans and Rice talking about it, and it really did turn out to be just as wonderful as he thought. So there's only 3 people on here. There's Sarah singing. There is George DeVivier on bass and Mundell Lowe on guitar. It's all just very low-key and just absolutely beautiful. So that is one of my vocal albums. Bobby Hutcherson, Dialogue. I'm a big fan of the vibraphone. Bobby Hutcherson may or may not be my favorite vibraphone player. He's definitely up there, though. I've got several Bobby Hutcherson albums. This one I like a lot because It's just extremely melodic. But it also is, I guess you'd call it just hard bop, so a lot of improvisation and solos on here. We have Freddie Hepburn on trumpet, Sam Rivers on tenor and soprano sax, Bobby Hutcherson, Andrew Hill on piano, Richard Davis on bass, and Joe Chambers on drums. So here's the track listing for this. So really excellent. One thing I really like on this one is Freddie Hepburn's trumpet playing. He's a fantastic trumpet player. One thing I really like about it is that when he plays, a lot of times he goes for these really high notes and he just doesn't seem to be able to quite get up there. It's like you can hear what the idea is, but the note is just not attainable. But you know, Freddie doesn't care. He goes for it anyway. So I like that. He doesn't play it safe. He says, you know, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, it's a great album. I think this is my first John Coltrane, and this is at number 10. Giant Steps. Just got this one recently. This was a recent reissue. 2-record set. This has some outtakes and stuff on it. So, for me, this is my favorite John Coltrane album, or definitely right up there. There's another one I've got even ranked even higher, but this is such a great album. The title cut, Giant Steps, is fantastic, because then also Naima is on this one. Countdown and Spiral are very much almost headed into like the free jazz thing, definitely more progressive than some of the others. So this is on Atlantic Records, and yeah, it's just a fantastic album. Duke Pearson, Sweet Honeybee. You know, possibly really one of my favorite jazz albums. I've listened to this as much as anything. It's just so pleasant, so wonderful. The title cut, Sweet Honeybee. One of my favorite songs is Freddie Hepburn plays the trumpet on this one too. Joe Henderson on tenor sax on this. James Spaulding. I haven't mentioned him in any other records so far, but James Spaulding was another popular sax player from the 60s. Plays alto sax and flute on here. Mickey Roker on drums. Ron Carter on bass. So all these songs are written by Duke Pearson. Sweet Honeybee, probably my favorite, but also After the Rain, Gaslight, Big Bertha, the whole thing is just fantastic. Can't recommend that one highly enough. Herbie Hancock, one of the great jazz keyboardists. Certainly right up there. I'm sure he would have to be in the top 5 among jazz keyboardists of all time. On this one, what we have is essentially the Miles Davis Quintet with Freddie Hepburn playing the role of Miles Davis. So once again, another Freddie Hepburn record. So I don't have any Freddie Hepburn records in my top 21, but he is very well represented among all the other albums. So George Coleman's playing sax here, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, and Anthony Williams. So that's basically one version of the Miles Davis Quintet. These are all original songs by Herbie Hancock, and the title cut, Maiden Voyage, has been, I'm sure it's been recorded by a lot of people. I'm sure I have it by a couple other people. This is a beautiful song. Little One is another one that was on one of the Miles Davis albums. Might have been, well, maybe ESP. This is on green vinyl. I think this might have been a Record Store Day reissue or something. I'm not exactly sure where that green vinyl comes from. Moonlight in Vermont by Johnny Smith. This really borders on the easy listening thing, but I'm going to include this too because this is jazz. I mean, Johnny Smith is a fantastic jazz guitarist. These are just wonderful versions. While Moonlight in Vermont, but also Tenderly, Star Cell in Alabama, Cherokee, Yesterdays. Beautiful album cover. As you can see, Stan Getz also appears on some of these songs. Zoot Sims also plays on this, and Paul Kenshet. So some well-known sax players. this just a beautiful, beautiful record. A guitar player, Johnny Smith, so just a very lush sounding guitar. I have several Johnny Smith albums, so I guess this is actually called the Johnny Smith Quintet. So, yeah, Moonlight in Vermont. This is on, just showing you, this one goes through another sort of an unusual label, Royal Roost, blue label, beautiful label. One of my time-tested records, Maxine Sullivan. I've talked about this record several times. I just love it. I got this record in 1987. I found the cassette in like a $2 bin or something, and it's just wonderful. She's just doing, the music of Julie Stein here. So Julie Stein wrote the music for all these songs with several different lyricists. There's the track listing, if you can read that. And yeah, I just love this album. So Sunday, it's been a long, long time. I think my favorite one on here might be Time After Time. But everything on it is so great. You Say You Care, Together Wherever We Go. So, Maxine Sullivan, jazz vocalist. Art Pepper. So where are we now? We're at number 5. Art Pepper meets the rhythm section. So this will be my 5th. Number 5 for me. So the rhythm section is from the first Miles Davis quintet. So Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. And all they're doing on here is jazz standards. These are ones that probably any jazz musician could just walk into the studio and play these without any further preparation, because all these songs are all well known. And in fact, what I read on Discogs was that Art Pepper just learned about this session the morning of it and had never even met the rhythm section before he walked into the studio. So yeah, it'd be so nice to come home to Imagination, Straight Life, Jazz Me Blues. Fantastic record. I listen to this in my car all the time. That might be. I've had this one for quite a while, and I recorded it to CD, so I've really listened to that one a lot. Going to just take a very quick pause. Okay, we're moving into the top 4 now. So at number 4, yeah, these top 3 or 4. I mean, these could all be. I'm sure this is a lot of people's number 1 jazz album, John Coltrane, Blue Train. It's the only album he ever recorded for Blue Note. Lee Morgan on here, Curtis Fuller, Kenny Drew on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, Philly Joe Jones on drums. So, Blue Train, the opening song. Interesting thing about that is Blue Train really starts with Curtis Fuller's trombone as sort of the signature tone at the beginning. But everybody gets to participate on this album a lot. And Moment's Notice, one of my favorite Coltrane songs of all. Yeah, Lazy Bird, I'm Old Fashioned would be the traditional jazz standard that they're doing on here. So yeah, this is actually Music Matters reissue of this one. And number 3, Bill Evans, Interplay. Yeah, so once again we got Freddie Hepburn playing trumpet. So like I said, even though there is no actual Freddie Hepburn album on here, he may be the most represented person in the whole top 21. So we also have Bill playing with Jim Hall here. So this album is the first one that he did in a non-trio setting, and in fact he's not even using the bass player and drummer from his trio. He's got Philly Joe Jones and Percy Heath on bass here. Yeah, so Bill Evans' piano work is incomparable, I guess, and all the songs on here fantastic. There's only one original, Interplay. Other than that, they're doing, I guess you'd say, like jazz standards. So really love this cover a lot too. So liner notes on the back. Number 2, I have Mulligan Meets My. I just love this album. This is another one of my time-tested records. it might have been the first one that I ever did, and it still stands the test of time. I love this album. I was just listening to it last week. Someone did a video about this record just recently in the bass clef, I think. Did that one, and he was spot on. I mean, everything about this album is fantastic. So these are mostly Monk songs. 3 of the songs are Monk songs. Also, Around Midnight, which I guess Thelonious claims part of the credit for writing that. And just another fantastic version of Sweet and Lovely. So Monk recorded Sweet and Lovely several times, and this is probably my favorite version of it. So Mulligan's Decidedly is on here too. So just a fantastic album. And my number one favorite is very boring. But what can I say? I mean, this is probably the one that I have listened to more than any other. It's one that I will continue to listen to probably more than any other. And just such a fantastic album. Kind of Blue. I mean, the only reason I could think of that I wouldn't like is just get so sick of hearing about it from everybody talking about it all the time. But it really does live up to all the hype. This is a music on vinyl reissue from a few years ago. It has an extra record with some outtakes on it. But yeah, this is just sort of the standard jazz album, I think. John Coltrane on sax, along with Cannonball Adderley playing alto sax, Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb, and Wynn Kelly. So, yeah, my number one, Kind of Blue. Boring, no surprise, but, you know, I can't apologize for that. It's the winner, the clear winner, I think. So that's it. Those are my 21 jazz records. So where would Love Supreme fall? Well, I think it probably would be in my top 50. If I were to name 29 more jazz albums, I just feel sure that Love Supreme would be in there, even though it wouldn't necessarily be my next Coltrane album. I like Coltrane Jazz. Would be one that I would prefer to that. And also, well, maybe a couple of his Prestige recordings, but those are ones that I mostly have on CDs too. So anyway, well, that's it. So yeah, let me know what you think about these. I'll be interested to know. And yeah, that's it. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. Thanks very much for watching.